Hello friends, I have a new toy to play with. This is my new Pyrography tool. It's by Tekchic and it comes with 2 pens and a whole bunch of different wire tips. Right now I'm playing with a small ball tip, and then this one's kind of a bigger, like wide area kind of tip. And they also gave us a bunch of little things to practice with. It's usually used for wood burning, so they gave us a couple little wood cookies and then a cute little like coaster cutout, and then they also sent along, I think this is like a little, yeah, just like a little chisel so you can do little carving bits, and a pencil, and then a stone grinding bit for smoothing things out, which actually might be useful for leather later. And then I also cut out a piece of the leather that I use, and they also gave us this tiny little gourd to practice on, so I might do something with that later. But if you don't know what I use a wood burning tool for with leather, it's putting designs like this, which is sort of an alternative design method to tooling, which is what this is. So with this, you're hammering patterns into the leather, versus with this, you are burning an indent into the leather, and when you put stain over it, it's this beautiful black design. So this was done with my previous wood burning tool, which here, we can get that out so that you can see what I used to use. And this was a great tool to start with. This is my tool drawer. It's very clean and organized. This was a great tool to start with. It is by Walnut Hollow, and it's just got an attached temperature gauge, and it comes with a lot of different tips. This is the one I used pretty much exclusively, and it served me really well. If you're looking for something to get started, I would definitely recommend one of these. I did this with it and it did it great. My thing is with it is it just kind of got not hot enough. The tips would get worn out really fast, and I wanted something that could get hotter and also more precise. So I'm hoping that these cool wire tips will do that for me. But I figured we could fire this baby up and see what we can do. I was gonna try out this one, and maybe we'll plug in this one later because you can only plug in one at a time. But having 2 pens is nice because I don't have to switch tips, I can just switch pens. So if I'm doing details and I want to switch to a broader stroke, all I have to do is unplug it. And it's nice, it's very secure. This is actually like screwed on. It's hard to do with one hand, but this is screwed on and plugged in. So it's extra super duper secure. But yeah, I'm excited just to play around with it and see how it feels different from my previous tool. So let's power this baby up. I said let's power this baby up. Oh no, it's a very powerful button. Hold on. Let's power this baby up. So this should be the temperature gauge, which we can adjust here, and it'll tell us what it's at. Oh, hi. You can't be up here right now. We're playing with hot things. Shoo. I love you. Please shoo. We're playing with hot stuff. Okay. But this should be our little temperature gauge, so you can see it says on, and then we can crank it up. I don't know. It takes about 30 seconds, I think, for it to reach the pen. We're playing with this pen, so I'm going to move this one out of the way. But it shouldn't take too long to heat up, but it can get up to like 700 degrees. It gets very hot. So we're going to play around and see what temperature works best and what we can do with it. I'm pretty excited to play around. So this is the thing, and the dial is interesting. I can't quite figure it out. So it's on. as you turn it up, you get an indication of something, but it jumps around really crazily. So I assume that that's the intended temperature, but it's quite difficult to read, and it always jumps back to 44. I think it's slow to figure out what temperature I'm aiming for, or which I'm pointing at, and I think maybe it needs like a certain speed on the dial. It's like if I pull it way over here, it gets quite high, but quite high. But it doesn't seem to affect. I wanted to try around 100 degrees, so I'm going to try to not touch it, but it jumps back, so I think that's the actual temperature of the pen right now. But it seems like it's been that for like 30 seconds or longer, and it doesn't particularly seem to be heating up. I wonder if I need to plug it in more securely, maybe? Maybe it's not quite plugged in all the way. Or I just need to be patient. That's also a distinct possibility. I'm gonna just give it a minute to heat up properly, and I will check back in. Okay, interesting discovery upon reading the manual again. They call this a voltage display as opposed to a temperature display. And something you can do is crank all the way into this red area, which is super hot, super fast. You don't want to work with it in that area because you can burn the machine, but you can use that to quickly heat it up. And I'll show you what happens when I do that. It's pretty cool. Let me see if I can get a good focus on here. Oh, the cats are having a good time. Psst, hey, everybody be nice. Your life's the worst. Okay, so watch what happens to this tip if I crank it into that red zone for just a few seconds. It gets hot real fast. So that's good to know. So I think it is working. It just operates on more of like a voltage rather than temperature specifically. So I'm going to keep fiddling with it and see what I need to have it at to get marks on leather, and we'll go from there. Okay, we're getting somewhere, guys. This is really cool. I just had to crank it up a bit. But this is a world of difference from my previous tool. You have to move kind of slow to keep the temperature, but I could never have done something like that with my previous tool. This is super precise, super easy to control. Yeah, that's super neat. I think it might need to be slightly warmer to work the way I'd like for it to on here. But the ball tip is really nice because it's really smooth. It's really easy to do lines in lots of different patterns. So circles, for reference, used to be just the worst with my previous tool tip because of the point, but with this circle it's so much easier to do curves. It feels a bit more natural. So I think it needs to be a little hotter for leather, but it did actually heat up quite quickly. I don't know why it wanted to just chill at a lower temperature. Oh, see, that's much hotter. Just by barely tapping it, I'm getting these nice little circles now. So let's try. Yeah, that's quite a bit hotter. It might be a little high, so it'll take a bit to dial it in, and I might make marks on the dial for kind of my preferred temperature settings. I'll take it down just a little bit because it is nice to not have to rush. But yeah, wow, this is just so much better. And I can get a pretty good line variant by pressing harder and softer. you do have to be sort of careful when you first set it down to avoid getting like a hot spot. But okay, this is really good. This is gonna make a real big difference. A little cool, I think. It'll take a bit to dial in what the ideal temperature is for me. Yeah, okay. This rocks. This is a huge, huge, huge difference. The tips are, it's really nice and sturdy. My previous tip would sort of bend a lot, and I think that's because I had to press really hard to get the effect that I wanted. But with this, I can set it so that it's hot enough that I don't have to press very hard, so I think my tips will be able to last a lot longer. I'm just obsessed with, I mean, and this is a much finer line too. Like, I can get really fine details. That is so exciting. Let's see what it does on wood. Oh, that's a totally different experience. Ooh, it smells really good. Oh, that's cool. So in the wood, it's actually really interesting because it's a hard surface. So it glides a little bit more naturally. But you can see I can still get really nice detailed shapes and curves super easily. That is very exciting. And with my previous tool too, if I moved around too fast, it would kind of cool down, which it seems like this one does as well a little bit, but it just can get so much hotter. So it seems like 400-ish is kind of the magic number for leather, at least for the designs that I want. And again, I have like 20 different tips that I can play with. I wanted to try this one because I knew that being able to, I kind of wanted to find a good like all-purpose tip that would work well for me. I think that this one might be it, but I have like 20 something of all of these to try. I think I might turn it off and switch to the other tip to play with, but this is just, I get so much variety of the line. As a former kind of comic artist, that's really satisfying to be able to create that type of line with this so smoothly. That's really, really awesome. With a tool like this, pulling towards you is always going to be better than pushing away from you, but it's nice with this tip because you have the option to do either. Having those little cleaning sponges on the stand is really nice too, because this can get a little gummy with the leather. But okay, I'm gonna switch tools and see what that other pen is like. I should be able to get the temperature on this up pretty quick. But you can see it's kind of a spoon, not a spoon, but like a curve shape, and it's to get like a wider area, which I couldn't really do with my previous tool either, partially because I never changed tips, but because it was a pain. I had to screw them in and out. So to have two pens like this, I can already feel the heat a little bit, but to have two pens like this makes such a big difference because I don't have to, you know, I just switched it in like 30 seconds, and this is probably going to be usable pretty soon. I'm already seeing a little bit of a mark. But I often want to fill in kind of background areas, and that's largely what a tip like this is for. I need to give it a little time, put a little water in it still. little sponge for cleaning. You want it damp, but not like swampy. Just enough to be able to kind of clean it off. Okay, not there yet. But I am starting to see. It kind of makes it shiny right now because it's just barely hot. That's cool. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like burnishing a little. But I think this will be nice for creating backgrounds because previously I'd have to do like a lot of horizontal lines because I didn't have a wide tooltip like this. So I'm gonna put it up really hot for a second just to get it jump started. It's neat to see the color change. And then I'll put it back to 400-ish. See if that boosted the heat. It's possible that this one's not meant to make much of a shape, but it's starting to. You can kind of see, maybe, I don't know how well you can see it, but it leaves little, it almost looks like a tooling mark. It's a similar mark that you can get with a beveling tooltip. But this is cool because if you have it really gentle, you can create sort of soft shading depending on how you apply it. It's going to take some getting used to, but you know, I can kind of color these circles in and get kind of a soft shaded effect, which is pretty cool. That's not something I could do before with any of the tips that I had because it was just sort of a different kind of tool. That's pretty neat. And I don't know if this one actually will get as hot as that other one in the same way. But look at that. That's like a super nice, soft, shaded mark. And you can do a gentle press. You can do... This might be really cool on a piece for like a scale effect. Kind of a subtle scale effect. That could be really neat. This one might have to be hotter in order to fill in the way I was thinking it might. I'm kind of interested in that scale thing though. That's kind of cool. That might be a fun thing to... I don't think it's very time efficient. Although it's not bad. I mean, it doesn't take very long to make a mark. Well, there we go. We're getting some heat in here now. But that's really neat. That could be a really fun way to add kind of a visual texture in a different way. It's an interesting shape. It's kind of hard to find where the flat surface is. But this is nice. Just kind of a soft shaded. And I bet this would be amplified by dye. So if I go slower, I'm trying not to create, I don't want to be burning too much. So I'm trying to keep it moving. We'll see how dark I can get it. But that's neat. It's nice because you keep, I don't know how well you guys can see that. I'll get a close-up later, but it keeps the leather texture. So you can still see kind of the skin instead of just totally obliterating it. That's very cool. And then I bet you could do, yeah, you can do kind of the scale markings on top too. This is neat. It's nice how I wasn't expecting it to be this soft. That's cool for filling in backgrounds. I kind of want to see what it does on wood. It might be a lot more. Oh, okay. No, it's actually, oh, it's super soft on here. That's interesting. I wonder if it's because it doesn't like sink in quite so much because it's a harder surface. But yeah, so you can see that this is just really a beautiful, soft. It's not what I was expecting, but it's really nice. So that's great as a shading tool, as a kind of background filling tool. I'm sort of obsessed with this. That's very cool. I love this kind of scale stamp look to too. That's really fun. Yeah, and it picks up kind of interesting folds and spots on the leather too, and you can go slower or faster to control how dark it is. That's neat. I'm into that. This is a super cool tool. I'm very excited to have it. Here, I'll adjust so you guys can see what we just did. Let's see, we'll switch to manual focus or autofocus. So these are some of the, but look at these lines that we can get. That's super precise. And you know, it's not like these weren't precise, but I had to press really hard to get a lot of these lines, and a lot of these were just a breeze to make. And I can get some really fine details. That's really exciting. Like, look at the variance in line weight there. That's really awesome. That's not something I could do very well before. And these are the kind of spoon shapes. I really like this kind of subtle leather shading. I think that's going to be really fun to play with. And then again, I have all these tips to play with. There's so many different ones. So I have a very exciting new toy that I am stoked to have. Thank you, tax return. But it's pretty awesome. I got this on Amazon. It was about $100. So far, totally worth it. I think these effects are really neat. You can see this really soft shading that you can get with that one tip. It's really cool. Big fan. 10 out of 10. Okay, friends, that's gonna do it for this week. Oh, thanks for hanging out and watching. This is a cat toy. And watching this week's vlog. Stay safe, make cool shit, and I'll see you next week.